Of our next guest portrayal of Hamlet, critic Clive Barnes wrote, "One of the greatest Hamlets of our time. He must surely be the finest classic actor since John Barrymore, and his Hamlet proves it." That's some pretty strong words. He's been covered with Obie Awards and Drama Desk Awards, Tony nominations, and tonight he's climbed out from underneath those things he's been covered with, and he's come with us tonight. Stacey Keach, it's so good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
What do you do when you get a review like that? Of course, you're awful happy that you got it.
Well, you are, but by the same token, it puts a kind of onus on you. I mean, you have a responsibility after that. So when people come and see you, sometimes they say, "Gee, I don't think he's that good," you know. But it's nice. It's always nice when you get praise like that. I think that on the other end of the spectrum, when you get bad reviews, a lot of times, I think young actors tend to believe them more than they do the good ones. So
I think it's just human nature.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think it's always it's a good idea, I think, to try and just let the good ones and the bad ones sit aside and go and do your work.
You've been one of the fortunate actors, though, that really doesn't get bad reviews, or have you?
Oh, yes, I do. Absolutely, yeah. Sure. I don't like to remember them, but Diana Rigg had a book recently where she had a lot of her actor friends write their worst notices and things, and she asked me to submit something. And I remember John Simon, when I did Hamlet, saying, "Well, what Stacey Keach lacks in spirit, he makes up for with spirit gum."
Oh,
so I mean, those are the, you know, I think if there's a sense of humor about it, I think that it's okay. I remember when I did Hamlet out here, a television critic said, "It's not a Great Dane, it's a dog."
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, so, you know, I mean, those things they're not easy to live with.
Well, it's nice to have Clive Barnes behind you, though.
It certainly is.
Now, here you are doing well, you've done television movies before, The Blue and the Gray,
right,
a miniseries, but this is a made-for-TV movie,
right,
of Mickey Spillane's Murder Me, Murder You,
right,
and you play Mike Hammer,
right,
a favorite character of yours.
Well, yes, I sort of grew up on Mickey Spillane, and I always admired that character. I think it was a sort of an extension of a childhood fantasy to be able to play him someday, and when I was asked to do it, I was thrilled. He's as we all know, a very hard-boiled, tough detective, but I think there's another element to his character. He finds women irresistible, which is always nice, and he's a bona fide hero, which is sort of a departure for me, since The Blue and the Gray, I might add. I think Blue and the Gray really helped to turn my image around a little bit so that I could play a little bit more romantic kinds of characters rather than having to always play the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. If this would develop into a weekly series,
yeah,
do you ever think you'd want to do it?
Well, I'll tell you, I did a weekly series in the 70s, and I was a little hesitant about embarking on another one, but it depends on the character. And Mike Hammer is the kind of a character that I would actually love to play, you know, take a couple more whacks at and play for a while.
Is there any similarities between you and your real-life character, and Mike Hammer?
Well, I'm sure there is. I don't really, I don't know the character quite well enough yet to know what those similarities would be, but I think that he's definitely a man of action. I think he also has a sense of humor, which is something that Mickey Spillane is responsible for in the creation of the character. For example, if he's feeling good, he says, "My Dow Jones is definitely looking up." And he's a little bit like a street poet. I think of him as a James Bond of the streets in a way, Mike Hammer. And a lot of action, a lot of pretty girls.
We have a clip. I don't know if we're going to see action or pretty girls, but we will see Mike Hammer.
We're going to see a little both.
Played by Stacey Keach. Here it is.
She plays Velda. Going to work every day was so hard.
Tough duty.
Real tough duty.
Then the guy with the gray hair that came in there.
Eddie Egan, the real live Popeye Doyle.
But the French Connection was based on.
That's right.
Now, what about Mickey Spillane? Did he have any input in the thing?
Well, of course, initially, he and Jay Bernstein, our executive producer, made some kind of arrangements. But just before we started shooting, I got a note in the mail and a box from Mickey Spillane, and I opened the box and it was his hat. He's saying, "Wear this and make sure you crease the brim in a very specific manner." Well, as you can tell from this, that is the Mickey Spillane hat. Now I had to do a little something of my own with it. I had to make the brim a little bit narrower and sort of step on it and make it my own, because I looked like an idiot with wearing it the way Mickey did.
But then, lucky for you, you both had the same head size.
Right. Well, I met Mickey. They honored him here in Los Angeles. They had a Mickey Spillane Day, and I met him, and I wore the hat. And as I approached him, we were going to meet. He looked up, and with a twinkle in his eye, he said, "The brim's all wrong, kid. All wrong. I hope that's all that's wrong." So He's a great guy, and he's really got a wonderful sense of humor.
Has he seen the finished product yet?
I don't think so. In fact, I think that we have just seen the very first public appearance of this particular show, just now. I think that everybody's waiting to see it.
Now, you mentioned Jay Bernstein, who was a gentleman that has been on this show and other shows, and he wants to bring back the old Hollywood. The fun days.
Right.
I'm just looking at the clip there, and he also is a big believer in the bigger-than-life heroes.
That's right. Well,
which Mickey Spillane or Mike Hammer seems to give
falls
off.
into that category. Yes, he definitely is. I think. I mean, he's almost become like a cultural institution in this country. I guess he's been around for some 30 years, and we've updated him. Instead of being a Korean War vet, he's now a Vietnam vet. But he still wears the 50s kind of suits and has a bit of that old philosophy.
The movie takes place on current days.
Yeah, it takes place in modern times. So it's an interesting dynamic that's set up to see a character a little bit out of his element living today. So
only watching just the clip where you did the voiceover stuff. She's my secretary.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of like a 1940-ish style.
Right, exactly.
Which is fun to see again.
Yeah. Well, I understand Powers Booth is going to be doing the Raymond Chandler, Philip Marlowe. They're doing a series on that too, so there is a kind of a revival, I think, of these old detectives. I personally love it myself. I think it's great to go back and revive these guys. There have been 8 Mike Hammers prior to my playing it.
Who were some of the guys that played them before you?
Ralph Meeker played Mike Hammer. Biff Elliott, an actor named Robert Bray. Mickey Spillane himself played Mike Hammer.
Did he?
Yeah, in the Girl Hunters. Of course, Darren McGavin, who probably made Mike Hammer probably more famous than anybody else because he did a series on television.
Well, that's not until you got in there.
Armando Santi did I, the Jury, and Kevin Dobson last year played Mike Hammer. There was also one other Mike Hammer, or people say he played Mike Hammer. It was Anthony Quinn in a movie in 1954 called The Long Wait, but he played, but the character's name was Johnny McBride, but apparently some people have told me that it was the same thing as a Mike Hammer character. So
it was based on Mike Hammer.
Yeah.
And Mickey Spillane's novels.
Right.
So when did he first create Mike Hammer? Was it right after the war?
I think so. Yeah. I think it was even before that. I think it was definitely in the late 40s, early 50s, around that area. Yeah. And I think his books really came to the foreground in the 50s and of course the 60s.
When this is going to be on ABC?
CBS.
CBS.
That's all right. No,
okay.
That's all right.
CBS.
CBS. Saturday night. A week from this Saturday night, April the 9th, from 10 in most areas, I think it's from 9 to 11.
9 to 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it's a Saturday night movie.
Right.
So it'll be fun. We're going to take a little break and come back and talk some more with you about your brothers and whatever else, other projects you got going on. Stay with us. Stacey Keach.